Hi guys, so we've got one of my favourite things to do on this video, and I'm going to give you a run through on how I create my 3D, 4D, whatever you want to call them, raised flowers. You'll see some in the background there. So I'm going to use my Team Gorgeous powders today. For the flowers I'm going to use Burlesque, Miss Mauve and Cherry Bomb. And for the leaves, I'm going to use York Antique Gold and a touch of Burlesque. I've got some bling, I've got my wonderfully faithful tweezers. Look at them bad boys, they're just vile. But you know, everybody's got the favourite things, aren't they? They shouldn't really be on a video because they're just disgusting, but there you go. And I've got my Precision Point Team Gorgeous Back to Basics 3D brush designed for stuff like this. So in the background you'll see my, my designs that we're going to do. We're going to do this middle one. So I'm going to take my sculpting foam. Actually, there we go. Bit ahead of myself there. It's not like me. So we've got that lovely design in the middle there. So I'm going to recreate that slightly. So we're going to take the backing off our sculpting foam. You can create them straight onto your sculpting foam, but for the video, the sculpting foam was a little bit dark. You couldn't see it. Put it on the other side of the on the other side of the backing paper, and it'll give you a firmer surface to work on. I've got my monomer, and I've put lots and lots of acetone in there. So if you're using it on a client, which not a lot of clients are going to have extreme work like this, if you're using it on a client, don't put as much acetone in, you're just going to have to wait a little longer for the petals to set. So I'm going to start with my burlesque powder, and I'm going to do a centre point to my flower. So I'm going to do a long, flat piece. So I'm going to just let that settle. So I've got acetone in my monomer to turn it to a plasticine consistency a little quicker, and it makes it more pliable. You'll soon get used to how much to put in. Too much and it's going to be brittle and it'll snap and it won't behave. Too little and it's going to take ages. So pat that out into a very, very long oblong shape. I'm just using very careful, deliberate presses. Just smooth out that side so it rolls nicely. You want it into a long, looks like a little sausage. It looks like the kind of sausages that Dave cooks because it looks a little bit burnt. So you don't watch my videos anyway, so it really don't matter. He has no clue what I say on them. So I'm just going to take my brush wet and flat and just pick up the very edge of that petal, you can see. And I'm just going to keep my brush damp but not wet, and just keep using the flat of my brush to just pull it away ever so slightly from side to side and curling it as I go. You don't want it to go off to one side, you want it to be quite straight. So I'm just rolling it into a little barrel, and it's going to give you like a twist in the middle. Think like a cinnamon twist or a cinnamon roll or something. So what's that paper called where you roll the paper up? Anyway, you roll this up, and then I just touch the very last bit where it seals together with my brush, just to make that a little bit stickier, and then fold that up. Now, when you're doing this on a sculpting foam, what I usually do is a dot of powder on the sculpting foam and then lift it up with my brush and stick it in there like this. However, doing it on the backing paper, it just did not want to behave, so you'll see me struggle. But then by this point, I was far too committed to this video, and I didn't have the will, the inclination to start again. So you can see there, it's hard to tell on the video, but you can see there you can see better now. I've got the little curl in the middle. So you want to wrap it round really quite tight, and when you're patting and pressing your petals out, the outside of the petal wants to be, the bit that's going to show wants to be quite thin. Okay, when you're sizing these petals, when you look at the side of your centre point, your little centerpiece swirl thing, you don't want your next petals to be much bigger than that. You don't want to go too big because you want it to overlap, and naturally petals will overlap a little bit and go bigger and higher as they come out to the outside petals, but you don't want it to overlap too much. In the next breath, you don't want it to be too short and too squat because it's not going to overlap nicely. The formation when we're overlapping these petals is a little bit like in nature, where you're not going to have one on one side, one on the other, and then two opposite ones, if that makes sense. You're going to overlap them. So there should be no even numbers in this. So everything's an odd number. So the first one will be wrapped round once, then there'll be three, and just overlap them as you go around. Every petal that you do needs to be on a join. So if I've got the join where my roll finished, and I'm going to put that on there. So I'm picking these up, and I'll go through this as we go along. I'm picking these up as I did the curl, really. Oh, it's a smiley face, look. It's not happy, is it? So pattern press those petals out, keep the inner section quite flat and neat and crisp, and then you'll find it easier to pick up. So once you're happy that the consistency is at that stage where it's starting to set but it's still pliable, pick it up, get your brush underneath, pick it up and just squash that onto the one that's there. I wear gloves for everything like this, so occasionally I will squash it in with my gloves. So you can see now it's come off the paper. So it's stuck to my glove. I hate this bit. This is a bit where I want to chuck it out the window. Let's see if it behaves. So I'm trying to wedge it on. So you're not going to see this bottom bit. So I just thought if I put some powder around the bottom, that might wedge it into shape, but you'll see in a bit it just does not. It does not work. So again, you're not going to see this bit at all. So this is going to be attached to the nail. So I like to do a couple of petals at once. Sometimes I end up wasting the odd one, but more often than not, it keeps a nice flow. It's a very, very therapeutic thing to do once you've got the knack for it. It's really enjoyable. So plonk that one on there. So you're going to wrap it round. You want to tuck either side of those petals in. If you put them on and your petals don't wrap round fully and they stick out a little bit, what's going to happen is you're going to get a very open flower, and not in a good way. You're going to see all the little joins, so tuck it right in. So keep overlapping these till you're happy. I like to do quite a bit of the dark one in the centre, then to a lighter colour, and then to my lighter and brighter colour on the outside petals. In nature, the flower is always going to be darker. Even if it's one colour, it's always going to be darker towards the centre. So get into a little bit of a rhythm, pattern and pressing these. So you'll see now I'm letting them settle because I want them to be crisper on these petals. So I'll let them settle before I press them out. So I tend to do 2 or 3 at once. I find them easier to do that way. Don't worry about getting them too uniform. Any little variations, if they crack or split a little bit on the outside of the petals, that's absolutely fine. Nothing's perfect. And it just adds depth, and it adds little wibbles in there that just add to the effect, really. So pattern press these. So again, swipe underneath and then squash that onto the one that's there. They are a bit tricky and they're never going to be the quickest thing in the world, but for showpieces and for showing off products or showing off just technique, basically, these are always get the most noticed on my Instagram and things like that. Intricate, delicate things. Clients will never really wear them. I've got a couple of clients that would, but they never really wear them. There we go. Told you it were going to go. So this is a point where I'm thinking, oh, I'm too invested in this video. What do I do? So at this point I'm thinking you can naff off because you can stay on the kitchen roll. I'm thinking, no, I'm not really going to be able to work on this kitchen roll. So at this point, what do I do? What do I do? So what I've found is, yeah, it's not going back on there. What I've found is by just taking my buffer and just roughing up the surface of a little bit of this backing paper, that really works well. So you'll see in a second that's what I do because it just keeps falling off. So I roughed it up and then I put a little bead of powder and I stuck it down and it stayed on perfectly well. So if you're struggling to get them to stick, just buff your paper a little bit and then stick them on there. So I'm going on to the next colour and I'm just going to do the same thing. As you get to the outside petals and your lighter colour, then what you want to do is let them fold a little bit. So you're going to bring them out. So as we get onto this colour, we're going to bring them out and just gently touch the top over. You'll see in a second when we get to the other colour what I mean. So we're into our third and last colour now, so the outside petal. So you can see now that the rose has gathered some sort of shape, and the petals have overlapped lovely, and it's kept a nice round shape. So these outside petals, I want more variations in them, so I'm going to pat and press them out till they crack a little bit, till they're a little bit bendy, because they're going to fold over. So don't worry about them being too uniform. You'll see they are bigger. So they are generally bigger, not massive, but they are bigger because I want them to tuck underneath, stick well, and fold over. So this one I'm going to tuck round on that join there and get right underneath and tuck it right in. If you wet this top surface of your petal, it will stick to the dried acrylic a lot easier. So just take the point of your brush as I did there and just fold that over. So again, I'm doing 3 or 4 petals at once. So just keep working them until you're happy with them. You can go as crazy and chaotic and detailed as you like. You can keep it very simple. Just keep overlapping and making sure you've not got any strange little joins. So you can see there I'm using the point of my brush to just tuck it in and then pointing my brush to just fold it over. If you're not sure, get a picture of a rose and have a look how it falls and how it folds. And I found that invaluable when I was learning this. My earlier ones, I've still got some, my earlier ones were horrendous. But I just practice and practice. I mean, they're not perfect. No, you know, I'm never going to claim to have a perfect technique, but it works for me and I like the look of them. So just keep going until you're happy. Right, so now we're going to do some leaves. So we're going to work on clean backing paper again, and we're going to use York Antique Gold and Burlesque. So I'm going to start with my flat sage green colour, and I'm going to dip it into like a goldy green metallic and then into my purple. So you want more of the main green colour than anything. Just get a very, very rough leaf shape. So point it out on one end, point it out on the other. You can see the colours I've used there. They don't look like leaf colours, but they are. So just point it on one end, point it on the other, and just flatten that out. Leaves like this are the easiest things in the world to do, and they're really, really effective. Flatten that out. Then I'm going to take, I've got a sculpting foam that I've folded in half to give a crease, like a really crisp crease. So I'm going to do the centre spine, and then I'm just going to put the little variations in. You can use a pushy, but I find this easier, and you're not getting product all over your tools. And then what you want to do, you don't want these flat. I learnt this recently. You don't want them flat, well, quite a while back now actually. You want them to have some bend. So you either pick them, two ways of doing it. You can do what I'm going to do in a second. You can pick them up, let them flop around your brush and let them settle that way. Or you can put them onto a creased, folded piece of backing paper or sculpting foam and let them sit. And then when you come to put them on your finished design, they'll have those creases, and you know, no leaves are perfectly flat, so they'll have all the variations and creases that you need. So the same again, get a leaf shape, similar sizes. So again, wipe underneath, lift that up, play around with it, either fold it over your brush or put it on your backing paper. And you'll see I do 4 of these, and then they'll be ready then by the time you come to get your design and put it all together, they'll be dry. So the background is a dark purple gel polish, one coat, and then a tack-free top coat, and I've sugared some iridescent white gold glitter on there. I'm going to use my Fast Fix crystal gel from Team Gorgeous, which is great. It's a tack-free finish to do big crystals, little crystals, big embellishments like this. So once I've decided on my placement, I'm going to squeeze a bead of that onto there, place my roses. I'll flash cure each section as I go. So I'll place my roses and flash cure that because they are quite heavy, so they will slide a little bit. And then I'll add my leaves, I'll add my pearls, my crystals, and just build it up until I'm happy with it. Once I'm happy with that design, I will give it a double cure in the lamp. Anything on the surface, I always give a double cure just to be on the safe side. So I'll give it 2 minutes in the lamp, and that's my finished design. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've got any video requests, please let me know, and thanks for watching. Bye.